been a minute. Well, anyway, it's a new look. Todd Dodge seems to age gracefully, along with his lovely better half, Elizabeth. You guys have defied gravity. You defied age. Since retirement, it seems like you have regressed. You're going back into your 40s. But we have a new venue here.
Oh my gosh!
This is what do you? I mean, this is one of your players. You're like one of the founding fathers of Shoal Creek Saloon, from what I hear.
My father-in-law, Ebby Neptune, one of my mentors and my beloved father-in-law, who passed away back in 2012. He introduced me to Shoal Creek Saloon probably all the way back to about the time I was dating Elizabeth.
Is that right?
And every Friday, and I don't know if they still do. I'm sure they do, but they had all, the buffet, all you can stand, catfish and French fries. And I came in here quite often on that. And then of course, since they started boiling crawfish during May and April and everything during springtime.
Yeah.
Then I've been a mainstay here.
He's got this corner in the OG part of Shoal Creek Saloon. We're in the what do you call it? The new addition next door. There's a section over there. Nate, I'm joking, but there should be. He's going to have his own section, probably on the back porch overlooking Shoal Creek. Would that be a better fit for you?
Well, anybody who is a longtime Austinite knows that this place has had water flowing through it.
Yeah, quite
a few times. I always say that Shoal Creek Saloon is the bar and establishment that will never die. I mean, there's been a whole lot of floods that have come, flowing through where we're sitting right now, and it just keeps coming back. So I'm glad for that.
I've seen it where it's been like 6 to 8 feet of water where we're sitting.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have no chance.
It has
been.
We're
sitting there right now. They're resilient. That's what you always coach when you were. Be resilient.
That's right.
Adjust.
It's
right. Okay. You have no control. So yeah, ATX original, Shoal Creek Saloon. It is. They're known for their crawfish and crawfish season. Brian Howe, who is the GM of this place, of course, Ray, the owner. You date back to Ray, and I think they have mentioned that you were one of the reasons why they helped grow this business. And that's why we chose it, because Todd's background and with them, and Ebby, your late father-in-law, and of course, just because it's one of our favorite places to eat.
That's right.
I love etouffee, gumbo, the crawfish season, which is wrapping up. They said they'll go up to July because these crawfish are smart. They like to dig deep subterranean under the water. They don't like this Texas heat.
No.
Or Louisiana heat for that matter.
No, it's, it usually starts there. It's, late February, March, April, May. Those are the go-tos. Matter of fact, I just had one out at Horseshoe Bay, had a crawfish boil.
Is it?
About 4 weeks ago, had the 5th annual Dodge crawfish extravaganza, and I've got 35 of my best friends, from Port Arthur, that come out to Horseshoe Bay, and the big joke is I spend the 2 weeks prior to the crawfish bowl happening, warning all my neighbors that all the hellions from Port Arthur are coming to town, and we had a little karaoke started at about midnight this year, and that probably wasn't a real smart thing to do. It got a little loud out there.
A little brown water.
Yeah, probably a little bit of brown water flowing. Yeah,
it's so were y'all done before sunup?
Yeah. Everybody's 60. Oh, and so
that's hard.
But we had a great time.
So you speak of Port Arthur Jefferson, where you played high school ball. Grew up in East Texas. This is you in high school. You haven't changed much.
Yeah, right. Checks in the mail, by the way.
Checks in the mail. He did, Venmo'd me the money. Number 11.
Yeah.
It looks like on the left, that's against Odessa Permian.
Yeah, that's in the state championship game at Texas Stadium. That was one of the coldest days of my life.
The hole in the roof.
The hole in the roof. They didn't have all the boxes up there, the luxury box, so that wind came flowing in there, and it was very, very cold that day. I know that. And then the one on the right is my junior year. The guy that is out front of me right there is my brother Richard Rice, and I call him my brother. He's the closest thing to a real brother that I've ever had, because his mom and daddy took out guardianship on me when I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
And I lived with them through my rest of the high school days. And he played his college football at McNeese State.
But he was a great program.
Oh yeah, still is. They're still good. But he still lives in Port Arthur, and he was one of my buddies that was out at the house for the Crawfish Bowl. Yeah,
man, the Golden Triangle boys, they stick together.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, we're always still together.
So I got to ask you this. So what is it about – I want to go back to this topic right here, that the crawfish season.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys do differently? And when in East and Southeast Texas, East Texas, what is it about that you've noticed how Louisiana boys, East Texas and Southeast Texas, Golden Triangle, what is it that you guys do differently that maybe – people like me in Central Texas and other places don't do, which separates the crawfish flavor and taste?
I don't know so much about that, but it's really down there where we're growing up in Port Arthur and in Southeast Texas. You know, we didn't necessarily growing up have a crawfish bowl as a happening, or, you know, I mean, it was every weekend. I mean, you might get served crawfish for dinner on Wednesday night, you know, and so it's
staple.
I mean, so it's not necessarily, you know, all about just having the big crawfish bowls and the celebrations behind it. You know, you go to Buc-ee's nowadays, you buy like my wife does, she buys all the stuff.
Oh,
yeah. And I mean, it's almost like a mini Mardi Gras at the house when you have a crawfish bowl. But, you know, back when I was growing up, you know, all of my guys were big fishermen.
Yeah.
I wasn't really, but the one thing, when they would get me up out of bed early in the morning and say, we're going to go crabbing. And boy, I was motivated, because I know we go over to Pleasure Island there off of Port Arthur, and you throw some chicken necks in the water, and about 3 hours later, you got a whole big cooler full of crabs, and you bring them home, and you're going to probably be sitting down and eating crab stew or barbecue crabs by the end of the night. So that was also good stuff too.
Crab meat, I'll take that over crawfish any day.
Well, it's pretty good.
So we talked about you know, growing up, you actually experienced what it was like back then. The rules have changed quite a bit, because you grew up in East Texas, Nacogdoches, and your dad was transferred to Longview. But you talked about your friend with the last name Rice, that you stayed down there and took guardianship. So that draw, because there's been a lot of, this is nothing new. Families move, players transfer into districts. And I'm just going to name two, and I think it's a great thing because they're big names. Mark Henry, the strongest man in the world, Lake Travis resident in Lakeway. His son was in the Lake Travis football program, transferred over to Vandergrift, along with Mike Adams, one of the best receivers ever in UT football history. Great guy in administration. His twin sons, they were at New Braunfels Canyon, where Mike worked as an assistant principal now in Drew Sanders' program at Vandergrift. So a lot of people have asked me, and in all the years that you've been a head football coach, a lot of people will cry foul. Well, they transferred in for athletic purposes. Well, if you purchase real estate, that's the way around. I'm not around it, but it is what it is. For you, I mean, you had several people transfer in. I mean, I know there's people in every district that want to claim that certain individuals transfer in because of athletic reasons. Why do you think that is? I know the reason, but I just want you have a profound way of describing that and how to debunk those theories.
Right. Well, you know, everybody can have their opinions when a good athlete, maybe he's not high profile at the time, but halfway through the year to the new school he went to, he's tearing it up. Or maybe it's someone who people, you know, nowadays people know a lot more about athletes coming from wherever they're coming from.
Social media.
But the thing about it is if a grown man has a wife and 2 or 3 kids and he wants to move from point A to point
Right.
B, he wants to sell his house in point A and buy a house in point B, or lease a house in, a new place. Well, who's to say he can't do that, and
Why not?
And so that's the starting point of the previous athletic participation form. That form it's a 1-page form, front and back. It's got a lot of questions that the school that's receiving the athlete. It's got questions for the school that the athlete is student athlete is leaving, and the people who he's leaving from, they can put on there that they feel like he's moving for athletic purposes, and sometimes it ends up going to what you call a DEC, which stands for District Executive Committee, and they hear it and vote on it, and sometimes they're allowed and sometimes they're not. But I haven't seen one where the parents actually move, and have a new establishment, have a new residence that anybody has a leg to stand on to keep them from. Nor, to me, should they.
Yeah.
If you want to move your family from one place to another, regardless if you've got someone thinks that they're moving for athletic purposes, really shouldn't matter.
No. You brought up, we were talking about this honestly right before we started recording this episode, that you have had in your career, had plenty of parents express interest of bringing their child, a young man, into your program, or maybe as AD, other programs as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to correct them by telling them, you can do that, but you need to bring your whole family down. It cannot, or you're divorced.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that it's sometimes when you have a family move in,
right.
And it's very common that a family is moving from, let's just say the state of Oklahoma. They're moving to Austin. All right. And the dad has gotten transferred. Mm-hmm. Well, they go to the principal's office. That's where they should start. They should start at the front of the school building, and typically the people in the front office, whatever their kids are interested in, then they bring them down to the coach's office, or maybe it's the volleyball coach or the football coach or softball coach, whatever it might be. And that's the way it should be. And that's where it starts from. And that's where, if I ever have one that shows up at my place, I tell them you need to go down to the principal's office and start there. But no, the one you're talking about, we had one move in one time, and we'd already started the PAPF on them, and it was an out-of-state deal. And I told the mom and I told the dad and the whole family, I said, listen, if you are going to be eligible under our UIL guidelines, the whole family is going to have to move down here. You can't just send, you just can't send son and father for the senior year in high school and just leave mom and the siblings up there. And so the funny thing we were talking about was, the mom goes, Coach, is there any other way? Is there any other way that they could do it? Because, really don't want to uproot these other two. And I said, well, if y'all were divorced, then y'all do what you want to do. And he could bring him and they could stay there. And I just kidding with her. And she looked at her husband. She said, I never did like you a whole lot anyway. And that was pretty funny. And so that was an interesting one. But, the one thing that you have to understand is that everybody that moves in, everybody that is an athlete has to move in. And if for some reason the district executive committee rules them ineligible, then they can still come. They just have to sit out a year of varsity sports before they can play. And they set up what you call a year of residency. And then the other thing that you see a lot of talked about nowadays, you've got certain school districts that are open enrollment school districts.
That's a good point.
Which it is the prerogative of any school district to allow out of district transfers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just say that school A is a accepts and people are coming. They're not going to move into the school district. They're going to stay where they are. They allow, well, they still, if they don't move into school district, that child would have to sit out a whole year of varsity eligibility. You can't, when I got to Westlake at the time when I got there was open enrollment, and I didn't even realize it.
I didn't know that.
And I started asking around and kind of checking. I really didn't have any players on my team that lived outside of school district. Then I kind of did a little research on it, and I did have some, but they had moved into the Eanes ISD when they were like in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and they lived outside of the school district, but they would been there a long time, and so that's legal as long as the school district allows that to happen on open enrollment. And there's quite a few school districts that do that nowadays. Is allow out of district transfers.
So I don't think so. That's just the reason why we talked about that, because there's been some movement locally here in Austin, but it happens every day, everywhere, every major metro, and even the one high school type of school districts. But the other issue, not issue, but concern that I know that you and I have talked about, that the transfer portal in college. So that is constantly evolving. I don't think it's evolved to where it will be permanently. Mm-hmm. But right now, since you have dealt with and had a lot of your kids that everywhere you've been signed to play some level of college football. Mm-hmm. And you now have some who are dealing with the transfer portal. So what's your thought now, because you have coached at the Division I level in college as well as an assistant and a head coach, the current state of the transfer portal, are we close to figuring this thing out, or is this hurting the game?
I have no idea whether we're close to figuring it out. The NCAA almost has, to me personally, is kind of wiped their hands of it. It's the hand that college coaches have been dealt. They're losing. They lose 13 a year. Well, you got to go out and find someone to replace in the roster. I personally am not a huge fan of it, because of the fact that I just at some point, I would hate to have to try to coach kids nowadays that you can't hardly coach them very hard, because if you hurt their feelings, they may up and transfer on you. And
I don't understand that
in the portal. I'm a lot more fan of NLI than I am of transfer portal. And I do. The transfer portal to me. You can go transfer. I think you need to have to sit a year.
Yeah.
But that's just my personal opinion. I've had kids that have played for me that I have mentored through that. And I would rather see them stay where they are, but they've come out on the other end of it, and it's been good for them. But the NIL, there's name, image, and likeness. I think at some point they need to get a handle on that. I don't know what it is, but there's so much money being made, and at some point, I'm glad that the players are able to benefit from it off their name, image, and likeness. I'll give you an example. I had at North Texas. In my time at North Texas, I had a kid that I made a scholarship player. He was a walk-on. He ended up the next 2 years. I put him on scholarship. The next 2 years, he caught more balls than anybody in the country. He had 114 catches in 2007 and 116 in 2008. His name's Casey Fitzgerald. He's a high school football coach now. And Casey, when I got the job, he was working at Whataburger. Okay, this is such a great kid. I put him on scholarship. You could still keep a job, if you want one. He continued to work his job at Whataburger just so he could put some money in his pocket, even though he's on scholarship. People just don't realize, I recruited kids, out of the Mississippi JCs, and kids, you'd be amazed at, yes, they're on full scholarship, but they also got a full-time job. So there's some crazy money being made in NIL, but I am glad that these kids, and to me, I think stupid that a kid can't, during the summertime, if he wants to go have him a little football camp or something.
Yeah.
A couple buddies get together, make some money off of it. Like with everything, I think when rules change, you have those first 2 or 3 years in, I think it'll all end up coming out and being okay. But I am not necessarily against NIL, and I know you and I talked earlier. What's going to happen to high school football with the NIL? Mm-hmm. I changed gears on that, and I think I hope that there's never a transfer portal at the high school level, at least in our state, and I hope that we never allow name, image, and likeness, because I just think that that's not in the best interest of Texas high school sports, not just football.
I agree with everything you just said. We cannot NIL at the high school level. That's the purest form of athletics.
Yep.
Now, should an individual be able to have a job or endorse something? But it's got to be a much different situation. It's NIL creeping into high school athletics would really taint the whole deal. But if that were to happen with the UIL, what could they do?
Well, I mean, they're our governing body,
right?
At some point, they can just say no to it, and I'm not naive enough to think that there's not going to be some push towards it. There's not going to be a push towards transfer portal and all that, because, everything kind of filters down.
Right.
I just, when you really think about this, like you just said, I mean, high school athletics is in its purest form. What are we setting up when we're allowing a kid at that age to get money, off of his name, image, and likeness, or her name, image, and likeness when they're 16 years old, at the high school level? You're setting up all of the crazy stuff that's going on at college.
Yeah.
High school athletics does not make the money that college athletics make.
Not even close.
No. And so you can't say that high school sports is just making a ton of money off of, Cade Klubnik. I mean, at Westlake High School, I mean, we had games and we had, but we had to pay the bills to turn the lights on, and, who did the concession stand and who took the tickets and all that kind of stuff. It's not like, so there's not a bunch of money left over to be paying anybody. So I just, maybe that's old school.
Right.
I think that most of my compadres in the Texas High School Coach Association and around the state of Texas would agree with me that there's no place for portal or NIL.
No, they're not at the high school level. There is, I don't know if you've seen it, a young man, I want to say he's 9 or 10 years old, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He goes by the name of Baby Gronk. Have you heard of him?
No.
His dad has helped him build this platform, and he basically states on there, I'm committing to, and goes all these visits, and he's already made a couple $100,000 allegedly.
Wow.
So I don't know what that will do as far as the future, but for what you said, it's not so much old fashioned. It's just maintaining the purity of high school athletics, because this Baby Gronk, he'll soon be in high school athletics, and he's a football player right now. So I don't know. Dramatic about everything. You made it in life when you have your own little transition there. So retire life. You're still new to it. I'm not going to say you're a retiree veteran, but Horseshoe Bay, there's a lot of fine Americans who live out there. Yep. Let's be honest here. I want to put you on the spot. What happens on a Saturday evening this time of year? It's a beautiful time of year. Austin, Hill Country. Mm-hmm. What occurs out there on a Saturday night in the springtime in Horseshoe Bay?
Well,
what's the routine?
If Mama Dodge gave me the kitchen pass, so to speak, to go play golf, I'm probably just rolling in about this time, and usually after that we're going to sit on the back porch and enjoy beverage of our choice, and have a good time. Enjoy the beautiful Texas Hill Country, and probably going to get on the golf cart and take a ride around, see what's going on around Horseshoe Bay, and we may even drive over to Sturgeon's, a little good seafood, or maybe Julie's, a little Mexican food restaurant there, and
endorsements.
And get something to eat. But that would be a Saturday night for us, and then Sunday probably a little bit much of the same.
Why
on
not?
Sunday. Right now, I do some work on. I scratch the itch, I call it, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I do a little, quarterback training on the side, and that usually happens on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursday afternoons, and enjoy the heck out of that. And but other than that, I am, usually playing golf or going up to DFW and seeing grandkids. We've got a big wedding this weekend at Horseshoe Bay. Some people that Riley, good friends of Riley and good friends of our family, that come to Horseshoe Bay to do a wedding. And so all my grandchildren, all four of them will be at my house about midday tomorrow. So
that's going to be a big time. Yeah. Your daughter Molly, a new mom.
Yep.
And her husband.
Yep. Molly has got Warren. He's 7 months old. He's already his uncle Riley has already nicknamed him the War Dog. Yeah.
He's some good genetics.
I mean, he's got a fine Texas name, Warren Dodge Kinsler. That's his. That's a good name, isn't it?
That is a straight representative. He you know what? He was born with that come and take it flag.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That is definitely a good Texas name, man. It's go back. I mean, if you look back on our social media platforms, there's some pictures of the growing Dodge family.
Yeah.
Speaking of family, what I thought was one of the coolest moments, you being a dad. I know Riley wasn't drafted in the NFL, but these are one of those moments, all dads. Mm-hmm. It was a special moment. Chris Vaughn, he and his lovely wife, they live in the Round Rock area. Mm-hmm. And Chris, some ties to the Longhorn football program. Mm-hmm. And then Deuce, phenomenal running back, always criticizing recruitment because he was undersized. The kid tore it up at Kansas State, as we all knew he would. Well, he got the call from the Dallas Cowboys during the NFL draft. And Jerry Jones, because Chris is on the staff as a director of scouting. Incredible moment. If you haven't seen that, that's also on our social media platforms. Well, I don't know if you saw this interview with Chris Vaughn on how emotional and how special that was for him when Jerry told him to make the call to your son and say, we're selecting it. Check this out.
He's a really mentally strong person. He has been all his life. And to hear that little bit of a doubt crack in his voice was tough, because I couldn't fix it. There's nothing I could do. It's out of my hands, out of his hands. And so when I could make that phone call, best phone call I've ever made, ever.
Because Deuce stuck around. So I'm pretty sure at some point you've had some conversations or met both of them at some point.
I have not met Chris. I have met Deuce when Deuce was in high school. Yeah. Him and some guys would come over and train with some of our kids at Westlake and throw the ball around, stuff like that. So I got to meet Deuce probably early in his high school career, probably a freshman and sophomore, and just like everybody else that loves high school football in the greater Austin area, just marveled at his career at Cedar Ridge, and then did not was surprised at what he did at Kansas State. I've been a huge fan of his. Just the man that he seems to be and become, the way he plays the game, the toughness, the never doubting himself. Of course, we got at Westlake now, we've got a young running back by the name of Jack Kiser.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jack, he came onto the scene my last year in 21. He started the year, and he reminds us so much of Deuce Vaughn. He's 5'5", 5'6", 175 pounds, and Jack is he helped lead us to a state championship at 21 as a sophomore. He played, he started 15 games for Westlake last year. He's now going into his senior year. But so people always ask me about Jack Kiser. I said, well, he's a guy that's been in our program and has evolved. But his game is a little bit like Deuce Vaughn. And not only just because they're short in stature, it's just tough, catch the ball well, block, and just really, really good football players. So I did see that with Chris and when the Cowboys drafted Deuce, and my heart was full. I can tell you that because I can know what that means to a father, and actually and also being a Dallas Cowboy fan, I was glad to see someone get a caliber a player like that and the one that's got the character that Deuce Vaughn has.
I think he'll make an impact.
Oh, I do too.
I mean, he looks like I know it, Kansas State, but Sproles, Darren Sproles.
They're one and the same. I mean, I'm sure that Deuce he's been compared to Darren Sproles, and I'm probably Deuce kind of modeled his game after Sproles. I know our little kid at Westlake models his game after Deuce Vaughn. And that's
crazy.
So I wouldn't count him out, not one bit.
Adds a ton of depth to that running back room. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see his development. And I think one thing that I think a lot of people underestimate, just like Deuce Vaughn, are the us men. You got to buy a certain tool. Manscaped.com. Severely underrated. Don't do it for others. Do it for yourself. Use that promo code right here, ManCave20, for 20% off your first order. I still stick beside my saying. This is not exaggerating. Hey, our significant others, they don't want us to resemble the German Black Forest below the belt. You got Manscaped. The lawnmower 4.0 can do the trick. Nasal hairs, everything. I'm almost 50. There's hair growing in places that I didn't know that it would appear. So all these products, help me look like this. Not that that's something to aspire to be.
She looking good, man.
Hey, brother. It's good times and podcasting. I don't know. And spending time with TD.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's end things on a positive note.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
If you didn't recognize that voice, Mike Harge, that's his son, DJ. He had to do the voiceover work there. DJ has become a tremendous athlete there in the Pflugerville ISD area. No pressure there. Great in the classroom and great on baseball, basketball, and football. So with all the negativity we see, there's no negativity here at Shoal Creek Saloon ever. And they got crawfish galore. Tell me something good that you've seen in your world and, with Elizabeth, Molly, Riley, all the extended family. Why, people should know about, because if you would just jump on social media, I think there's nothing but negativity in this world.
Right. Well, something good in my world is that I've gotten to kind of step back and see high school football from a different viewpoint. And I want everybody to know that loves the game of football in the state of Texas. There are some unbelievable men that are leading our state as coaches, as administrators at Texas High School Coach Association, with Joe Martin and Glenn West, with guys like Tony Salazar, with guys like Hank Carter, with guys like Riley Dodge, all over the state of Texas. I could go on and on. Then you got the veterans that are still in it. You got the Gary Josephs. What a fabulous coach. His son, Jeff Joseph, who went all the way state championship game. I've had a chance to sit back and watch people coach, and we are in great hands. And after my first year off, it just absolutely does my heart good to know that our great game in the state of Texas is better than ever.
I agree. High school football, just the fraternity of it, the close-knit. I mean, it changes lives, and it creates the culture. It's part of the culture of what our great state is. I know we're not so great in certain areas, but high school football and developing high school sports in general, we continue to develop leaders at an alarming rate because of high school athletics and the UIL and the High School Coach Association and people like you. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Hey, TD, man, this is the beginning of something great here at Shoal Creek Saloon. This is an ideal marriage here. I mean, look around. Look at the great Chris Clack's jersey. You got a little KD over here. This is we're about to go grab some food here, and we appreciate you. I know you're watching this on I don't know when you're watching this, but we're hoping you're watching it when it dropped on a Friday. So this is the first of many inside the Fieldhouse with TD. And for the OG Man Cave boys, that being Hardball Harsh, Big Mike, and Coach Mo, what do we say, TD? How do we get exit? There you go. We out.